All right, guys, I hope you guys have watched the video on quadratic transformations that the county had posted. I'm now going to make a little YouTube video just kind of quickly going through some of the transformations that we've already learned. And then I'm going to go through some of the first practice assignment that you guys should be working on in order to get ready for your assessment at the end of the week. Okay, so first off, the first video was completing the square, where they took something from standard form and put it into vertex form. So this is vertex form right here. And with vertex form, we can easily see how our quadratic has transformed from our original parent function. Okay, so we have y equals a parenthesis x minus h squared plus k. So each of these colored letters here, a, h, and k, does something very specific and does something different that makes our quadratic look different than our parent function. So let's first talk about what a does. A does, if you remember, kind of like the most transformations. It actually does three different things. If we have a negative a, I'm just going to kind of if we have a negative a, what that does is it is going to reflect over the x-axis. So that is when we will see parabolas that are kind of like upside down, right? So if it reflects over the x-axis, a is negative, our parabola is just facing upside down. The way I like to remember this is if you are a negative person, you are frowning all the time. So you can make a little frowny face out of this parabola. So that's the first thing that a could do. If it's negative, it is reflected over the x-axis. All right, if a is greater than 1, and this is always going to be like the absolute value of a. So technically, in this case, a negative 3 is greater than 1 because the negative reflects it, and then you look at just the 3. So always look at the positive version for these next two things. If a is greater than 1, our quadratic is stretched. And we want to say it's stretched vertically. All right, that just means that it gets skinnier. All right, if our a value is less than 1 but greater than 0, that's just a fancy way of saying like a decimal or a fraction. So like 0.25 or 2/3. Just be careful because sometimes they'll give you a fraction like 5/4, which is technically greater than 1. So just be careful with that. If it is between 0 and 1, we are going to say that it is going to compress vertically. So that just means it is getting wider, it's getting fatter. All right, so that's what a can do. It either reflects it, doesn't always happen. It could stretch it vertically if that number is larger than 1, and it could also compress it vertically if that number is a fraction. All right, let's move on to h. H gives people a lot of problems because of this negative sign that's already right there for us. All right, so h does one of two things. All right, so it's going to either shift. Some people like to use the word translate, which just means move. It's going to shift or translate it. Let's go with left first. It's going to shift or translate it left if our a value is a positive a. So if a is positive, it is going to go to the left. It's always the opposite of what we think. And then it's going to shift to the right if our a value is negative. So if up here I saw like x minus 5, since it's minus, it's going to go to the right 5 units. And if I saw like x plus 2, I know it's going to go to the left because it's a plus sign, 2 units. All right, so h is left and right. And then lastly, we have k, which I used blue, so we'll go with k here. K, pretty self-explanatory. You guys are all really good at this. It is going to shift up if we have a positive k. It's going to go up if we have a positive k, and it's going to shift, move, translate, one of those synonyms, down if we have a negative k. All right, so once again, a reflects, either makes it skinnier, right? It's stretched, or fatter, it's compressed. H is going to go left or right, right? Anything that happens inside of parentheses is a left and right transformation. If it's positive, it goes left. If it's negative, it goes right. And then my k value at the very end here, that's an up and down translation. Positive goes up, negative goes down. All right, so hopefully you guys took these notes. We're going to use these notes to help us answer just a few of the assignment questions. I'm not going to do all of them for you because I'm hoping you guys are working through these with me, and then you guys are practicing some on your own. Once you get done practicing those on your own, if you want me to check it out, email it, I'll check it out for you. All right, so first little assignment we have is this one right here. This is literally titled Practice Assignment Number 1 in Google Classroom. Okay, so we are told to graph these functions. So I actually like to answer this question before I even start this. So kind of just to have a good basis, I'm going to use a little sticky note here because my wife has sticky notes on her desk. And I'm going to just draw out the parent function. I know this is going to be a super sketchy sketch, but the parent function, which is y equals x squared, right? It's always going to start at our origin. I'm just going to draw myself some little tick marks here. All right, it's always going to start right at the origin because there wasn't any up and down, left or right transformations, right? There's no parentheses, there's no k value, there's no a value, all right? And then what it's going to do is just going to go over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, right? And then remember, we always know that parabolas are U-shaped, right? It's a parabola, it is that U shape. So this is what I'm building off of for this entire front sheet. I'm looking at this equation up here, this x squared minus 4. I'm going to see how it's shifting this. How is it transforming it? All right, so that first question, I'm just going to kind of have this. I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to put it right here just as a little guideline of what I'm looking at. All right, so if we look up here, let me get a nice little color Sharpie. Y equals a x minus h squared plus k. Remember, that's vertex form. I want to see where these numbers fall at in this formula. So if you're looking at this first example, it doesn't look like I have an a value, right? I don't have a number before my x, so it's just 1 in this case. So it doesn't get skinnier, it doesn't stretch, it doesn't get fatter, it doesn't compress. It's also not negative, so it's not reflecting. So I still will have that general width, and it's definitely going to be pointing up because a is positive. All right, also I don't see any parentheses, right? I don't have any h value here, so I know I'm not going left or right at all, but I do have a number that is outside of my parentheses at the very end where k is, so I know it's going to go up or down. Since it's a -4, I know it's going to go down 4 units. So down here on the bottom here, let's see if I can use a Sharpie for this. I know it's going to shift down 4 units. So I want to say that in words. That is how this equation is different from this one, which is this graph right here. All right, so all I have to do is, instead of starting at 0, 0, since I shifted down, I'm going to start at 1, 2, 3, 0, -4. So my vertex, if you guys remember that vocabulary, the vertex, that lowest point, is just moved down 4 units. And then now I can still get my other 2 points just by going up 1 and over 1. Up 1 and over 1, and then I can do my best job to draw in my parabola. That is it. That question is done. All that happened from this equation, from my parent function, is that I went down 4 units. As you can see right here, started at the origin. This one, I moved down 4 units. That's it. All right, next question. I'm going to move this guy right here so we can still have that good basis. That's a good idea to have that parent function always next to you. All right, so let's go through our a, h, and k for this equation. So it looks like I don't have a number before my x, so a, once again, is a +1, which doesn't really do anything. It stays the same as my parent. I do have a number inside the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, we know is a left or a right transformation. All right, this is the tricky part. Since it is a +2, a +2 is going to shift left 2 units. Right, shift left 2 units. And if you got stuck on that, a really, really good thing to reference are those notes that we took at the beginning, right? A positive A goes left, right? So always double check the notes that you guys are taking. Okay, so not too much different than this graph right here, but instead of starting at 0, 0, I'm just going to start 2 units to the left. So once again, instead of putting my point at the origin, I'm going to put my vertex 2 units to the left, and then nothing else changes. I know it's opening up. I can go up 1 over 1, I can go up 1 over 1, and then I can draw in my parabola. That's it. Done. All right, not too bad. All right, now we're going to do the third example together, and then I'm going to leave the fourth example for you guys to complete. So I'm moving this up here, take my parent function. I'm going to cover this guy up just so I know what I have going on here. All right, so it looks like I actually have two different numbers that are affecting my original parent function. I have a number on the inside of the parentheses, and I have a k value, a number on the outside. I still do not have an a value. There is no number here stretching it or compressing it or flipping it. So it's going to stay the normal width, and it's still going to be facing up. Okay, so looking at this first one right here, this +2, I'm basically just combining what I just did in the last two examples. So a +2 on the inside I know is left to right, and since it's positive, it's going to go left 2 units. And then I'm going to look at the value on the end here, this -4. Since it's a k value and it's at the end, I know it goes up or down. Since it's negative, it goes down 4 units. All right, left 2 and down 4. All right, so now this is the tricky part. So make sure you're only making 1 point when we're making our vertex. Remember, the vertex is just 1 point. All right, so my vertex of my parent function starts at the origin, starts at 0, 0. So always put your point at the origin, and then I'm going to go left 2, and then I'm going to go down 4, and then I'm going to put a point. All right, so start where the parent function would normally start. Our transformations told me that I went left 2, and then down 4. All right, since my a value is 1, I can just go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and then I can draw in my parabola. All right, that's it, all done. All right, so you guys should be working on that question, that fourth example there. Make sure you have all of your notes on your desk when you're working on this. Okay, we're gonna quickly talk about a couple of the examples on the back of that assignment because it was 2 pages. So we'll look at this real quick. And then this is kind of just doing the reverse of what we just did. So we're going through and we're actually writing down the equation. They already have the graph for us, so we're doing the opposite. All right, so I always like to take good notes. So up top here, y equals ax minus h squared plus k. My quadratics will look something like that. Okay, so let's get started with this. Okay, so real quick, let's look at A. So I have a positive A because it's opening up. It looks like a smiley face. Positive people smile. All right, and if I want to get a little bit more specific with A, the way that we get the number is by kind of doing the slope. So do we all agree my vertex is right here? I can go up 1 and over 1, and it looks like I hit my graph again. You only want to do that one time because it's not like a line. It's not consistent. As you can tell, it gets steeper as it goes along. So up 1 over 1. So since A is up 1 over 1, I know that A is a positive 1. So it doesn't really change. All right, now let's look at H. Remember, H is left and right. Remember, I always usually start at my origin. It looks like my vertex got moved 3 units to the left. Since it moved 3 units left, it's positive. Remember, it's always the opposite. You see a -3, but in our formula, it's going to turn into a +3. So H is a +3. And then lastly, K is that up and down transformation. I usually start at the origin, and it looks like we went down 2 units. K is exactly what we see, so I write a -2. Then all I have to do is plug these 3 numbers into my equation up here. Y equals A is 1. You don't have to write the 1, you can though. And then I have X, H is a +3 squared, and then K is a -2. Done, that's it. All right guys, last one of the video. Sorry this video is a little bit long, but 15 minutes, more than enough time for you guys to kind of grasp this concept. You guys will be doing just fine. Okay, so this is the first one that I've seen that is upside down. So right off the bat, I know that A has to be a negative number. All right, let's look at our slope. It looks like I can go down 2 and over 1. So down 2 and over 1 before I hit my equation again. So down 2 over 1, which just simplifies down to a -2. All right, so it's just like doing a slope. You always start at the vertex and you figure out how many times you have to go down or up and over before you hit your parabola again, but only do it one time. It is not a consistent number. All right, now let's look at H. Let's see, did we shift left or right? Remember, we always start at the origin. It looks like we went right 1 unit, right? The vertex is right 1 unit. Since it's right, it's a -1. And then lastly, K, start at the origin. It looks like we got shifted up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units, right? The height is 8, and it's a positive 8 because you went up. All right, let's plug in all of our numbers. We get an A value of a -2. We get X, our H value is a -1 squared, and then our K value is a positive 8, and then we're done. All right, guys, make sure you guys send me the rest of this assignment sheet. Remember, it's not going to be graded, but it is a great way to prepare for your assessment, which is graded. All right, see you guys.